Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to, oh, look at that. Just as I was about to stop it. Boy, that got sexy. Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. Pretty nice result. Now, before we dive into it, so just review. This is some of you, I think, are owners. Uh, I think Joyce is an owner. Some of you are working with the product here. So we're gonna again we're working progressively from easier to more complex subjects. So this is going to be, oriented towards those just getting started with it here. Now, oh, Erwin and I were exchanging versions this morning, and there's a little bugaboo on my machine here, so it's possible we're going to run into that. But what that meant, I had to create a new algo from this morning. So let me show you what I did here, and then we'll just go through the process. Um, this is, oh, you've seen me before. I just create something here so I don't have a trade on every bar. So this could not be any more straightforward, right? It's a very, very, very common setup for people, a 9, a 21, and an RSI, right? Could not be any easier. Now, one thing to note, because this always surprised me. I mean, there's a lot of trades on here, but these don't need to be on the screen, right? They don't need to be on your chart when for any algo design, and people are aware of that. But you can just create them right here and not worry about them being on the chart. Just a little heads up there. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is not so much the algo design, because our focus here is on the ATM. Now, I'm running this on 24/5. Again, that was the little bug I had this morning, was somewhere in the trading hours. We'll get that sorted out. So just starting out here, this is all just default settings here. So we're going to start with just one position this is, this is an area that can be optimized here, but don't feel like you have to, right? So you might say, well, hey, I don't ever want to risk more than 16 ticks, right? Whatever it may be. It's probably a good idea to let the optimizer run and see what you get here, but don't feel like, oh, I've just got to take what I get from the optimization. This is an option for you. You've got the potential here to set it yourself and say, okay, that's it, right? I don't ever risk any more than 16. Or you can start to work with some of the variables here. So let's see if I'm going down my list here. Fixed stop versus ATR. Okay, so let's do a fixed stop is what we're just looking at here, saying, okay, 16 ticks, that's it. Now, I've got other variables here that I can work with, and I would encourage you to experiment with each of these. Do we want it to be fixed number of contracts, a fixed percent of your account, right? Again, things to consider. No more risk than $500. Fixed dollar amount, fixed risk, adjusted for volatility. Now, many of these are new, right? So that's the thing about Irwin. He'll sneak in updates here on the reg, and sometimes I don't even see them. I had not seen that one. So here's fixed risk dollar amount adjusted for volatility. Now, okay, so you might start working with that and go, okay, well, do I want to start making some tweaks here, because if I'm accommodating higher volatility, I may want to make some adjustments here. So I want to move to break even, perhaps when I get 1 times the whatever I'm risking on this. Just some things to consider. Trailing stop. Do you want a trailing stop? These are all decisions you make, and anything you tweak here is going to have dramatic impact on
We
your algo.
Can we
Go ahead.
quickly maybe
Yep.
go over the different options you have for your target, your stop loss, and break even? Because I noticed that there is sometimes some confusion about them.
Okay, let's go back to fixed number of contracts. Okay, my target. I'm in this algo, I'm going after 16 ticks. I've got
Yeah.
one contract. Now maybe I want to change that to 30. Right? Those are your choices here. When do I want to move to break even? Certain number of ticks, an ATR. So you might again, there's no right number here. It's just relative to your risk tolerance here. So all you're doing right up here is setting, what am I doing here? Is this just going to be a single contract, which is usually a good place to start with singles and then start adding positions. You can also do some scale in, some other things we can do with it over here. We'll get to that. But so first thing I'm saying is, okay, I'm going to target of 30 ticks. Move to break even when I'm 8 ticks in profit. May or may not want to do that with a micro, right? That might be too tight, but that's an option. Of course, the other option here would say, okay, I want to get when I get 1 times my RR, right? I'm going to go to break even. Now, again, there's no right answer, but sometimes that can be a little too tight. it's up to you, right? But that's something to consider. And then a trailing stop. When? Well, immediately. That's not going to make sense. But when number of ticks in profit. If you're after something that's scalp oriented, and this looks like this algo is doing a lot of scalping, that might be something you want to consider here. Well, when it's 8 ticks in profit, move it to break even. Let's oh there's with risk reward. Do I want to hide my stop behind a prior high or a low, or use some sort of an ATR? There's a lot. This is kind of trial and error. And it may be that you would want to get some stats up here. So as I look at it here, okay, this is we're not improving based on what we had. Although I don't think I sent it over to ASP yet. So this is, well, okay, so let's go none, right? See, does it make a difference here? Do I want to make my risk reward here 3 times and move to break even when I'm at 1? Okay, well, that's the thing about Algo Studio Pro. You get the immediate feedback. So is that better or worse? Well, that's obviously worse. So, okay, if I were at this point, if this were me and I were looking at this going, oh, Jesus, that's terrible. I'd say, okay, well, let me see what the ATR comes up. Well, let me see what the ATM comes up with, because obviously me just kind of manually, clicking, checking, no, I'm not getting anything productive here. So that might be a time you go to the ATM and see what it optimizes.
Yeah, one thing to note, Sam, is what I have learned at least from the auto strategy builder, that as soon as you are using ticks in your ATM, so like you do now, start trailing when your 8 ticks in profit, or your target is in ticks, or your stop loss is in ticks, you're basically locking it to the current market. So if you load that same strategy on a different market or a different time frame, it will just completely be losing and be different.
Yeah.
So personally, I really like to have the stop loss in ATR and the target in risk to reward, because then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which time frame, which market you run on, because
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's
Yeah, for
always based on volatility.
Okay, so let's see if we can create something like this. So our target is going to be 3 times the risk reward. Our stop will come down here. We'll do an ATR, and let's do 2 times with a now max stop. Always important, right?
Yeah,
If we get
yeah,
high volatility here, so that's something you can fuss with here. You may want that may be too much for you. You may want to take it to 100, but this is a decent setup here. Now, is it improving my results? No, but that's not necessarily means, oh, I don't ever want to use this. But as I based on what I have in here going 24/5, I'd almost want to do the exact opposite of whatever it's doing. So um, again, this is a bit of trial and error in here. If you want to do it this way, where you're manually kind of checking, well, this is usually what I go after. I usually go after a 3 to 1. Maybe I want to take this down to 1.5, something like that, to see. Again, I'm going to get some pretty fast reaction from it. I don't get much improvement here. Actually, it's just gotten worse. So
yeah.
that,
And
go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt you,
Yeah, that's right.
um, because I think most of us are always busy trying to refine our entries, right? If you go to everybody's looking in the logic tab. How can I find the best entry to enter the market? But the most important thing is your risk management, and you probably heard and read it everywhere. But somehow everybody's still focusing on the best entry, and but the difference is made here is what is your stop loss, what is your target, and how do you drill your stop. That's the most important thing in from an algo, and that's also what the optimizer, which we'll be looking at next, is optimizing for you. It's not optimizing your entries, because the entries are not what's making you a profitable or a losing trader. It's the risk management.
Exactly, right. That's always what matters. Um, so I think for the purposes here, it's just demonstrating all of the choices that you have here in terms of what you want to go after here. So if we're starting with number of contracts or dollar amount, that would encourage you to do a little experimenting here. And again, you get that immediate feedback. So that's the real bonus here of what we're trying to showcase. And you can see that what I've done here has done absolutely nothing to improve the results. So trailing stop loss, no, let's just leave it here. Is that better? It's obviously not. So it's that immediate feel, although we just cut the losses in half, although that's not an equity curve anyone's going to want to trade. So
No.
just go ahead.
Well, I think the thing is, if you want to manually adjust your ATM, you will need to look at the trades which are rendered on the chart, because you want to avoid losers and let winners run, of course. So you would have to zoom in and say, okay, is this a valid entry? Do I want to enter here? Do I want to be stopped out or hitting the target here? And as it is now with this ATM, which is basically random, you can already see it's producing way too much trades. So that's probably one of the first things you want to.
Well, it's running 24/5, right? So that would be one of the things that we'd want to consider. Now, we haven't done anything with the news filter here. These are just, well, let's see. Let's see. I guess I don't want to move off of this until we've covered every possible scenario here.
Yeah.
Um, I have not played with this one. So fixed dollar amount adjusted for volatility. Oh, let's say, okay, we're getting worse. We're minus 65 grand. All we have to do is just do the opposite of everything this algo
Yeah, that would
is doing.
that would be.
We'll be in great shape. Now, granted, we're doing 24/5 here because I want to be sure that we have enough trades when we get to the optimizer here. So I think the bottom line here is that this is just a lot of trial and error. If you're unsure of what it's doing, okay, that's different here, but it's not. I mean, it's pretty much just read it out loud. Okay, how much do I want to risk a fixed dollar amount on any one trade? Okay, well then if then I'm looking for a risk reward of 3 to 1 on that 500. Okay, maybe that's right. Obviously, that's not getting better. Um,
Mhm.
Fixed percent of my account, 1% of the account. Again, we'll see if that gives us anything better. It's a little better if we went from 65,000 down to minus 4,000 down. So you can see the immediate impact of
Yeah,
these.
in general, when you just change the position type, it's not going to affect the equity curve. It's only going to affect the absolute values.
Okay.
Because if you risk 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 to trade, if it's losing, it will still be losing. It won't magically start winning. So this is what you are. I think the position type is probably one of the last things you will look at. First, you need to get something profitable, and then you can optimize it for your risk tolerance with the position type.
Right. Okay, good. All right, well, let me keep going here. Let's see what we can get here. So, might as well do this. Is now this has become kind of standard ops for me. I don't do always include that, right? Just so we get a better back test here. So we're not
Mhm.
trading through high impact news. This, of course, we can do it here, but I think most of you, if you're still working with the optimization, will come over here and do it here. Now, I've set this back to the default here, but I don't want to be moving too fast. Should I send this one over? God, it's a good result. Why don't I load this one and see what we get? Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's a better looking curve than we had. Now that's essentially all I've done here is I've gone to the ATM, pardon me, I've gone to the optimizer and I've gone with the defaults here. I just hit reset. So everything is default here. All of this is all default. Now, typically I'll tweak this. I'll take this to minus 500 consecutive losers, 3 to 5. But just for demonstration purposes here, I mean, pretty good result, right? So that don't feel like, oh, I got to tweak things, right? I can't work with the defaults because those are too generic. This is default. That's a pretty good
Mhm.
result, and it's 105 trades. But if we come back here now, this is what's in there now. So you can see it optimized the times, which is, I guess, it's just personal opinion whether or not you're comfortable with that. The first thing I do whenever I've got an algo is first thing I do is I come back and look at the report to see how it traded throughout the course of the day. So interesting here. It's very spread throughout, 24 hours here, or, you're getting all 3 sessions. Interesting, right? What would your reaction to that be, Erwin?
Well, in this case, with the reports, I would want to see um, multiple green bars adjacent to each other. So
That's right. That's what I always look for.
I would
Like
say
this.
this algo, I would only trade it from 8:30 to 9:30,
Right.
and we move the other ones. But maybe we are going a little bit too fast, and we should first
Go back.
focus on the optimizer itself because we're already looking at the results now.
Okay. So move, can I move? Does anybody have any questions about the ATM as to where we are here? I know I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but
Yeah.
before we go to the optimizer, any questions here about stop loss, the choices here? It's pretty, it's hard to break something, right? If you just, it should show up for you pretty quickly. Okay. Was that better or worse
You,
setting
oh,
a fixed range,
maybe
right? So,
maybe one good thing to notice. Can you put it on the stop loss, for example, on below every bar, previous bar? Yeah, or swing is also. You see that exclamation mark popping up, right? And if you hover over it, you get a exclamation. But also on the chart, you will now see points where you think, why doesn't it open the trade right here? And yes, you have your toolbar over it, so you won't see it.
oh, I see. Okay.
uh, but underneath that toolbar, there will be question marks for every buy or sell signal. And if you hover over that, you get the same overlays explaining you, for example, okay, this was a sell signal. This is a red vertical stripe, but we didn't open trade here, and it's because of this and this reason. So if you ever wonder, it should have opened a trade here. Why is it not doing it? Then just look at these question marks at the top of your chart, and hover your mouse over it, and it will tell you what the reason is. And this can be one of them.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Let's go to previous bar high low, right? So you got the same issue here in terms of number of ticks. So it's just a warning that it can't take the trade if it doesn't meet the criteria that you've given it, right? It's going to skip that trade. The results are still the results, but
Yeah.
again, as Erwin noted, that would be why it's not taking the trade. Now, this has got, pretty heavy ATR here on this to get that result. We're at 8 times the ATR. That's pretty heavy, right? So part of that is tied to the amount of risk tolerance we gave it, although that's not terrible. But again, spread out, it's the net result of optimizing the hours. So looking at that, just seeing how that's all spread out, you'd know, okay, this is one perhaps needs a little more work that because it's too random. That will be hard to find consistency with them spread that wide apart. So if you were to see that, just take note. You're looking for clusters, the high volatility times, whether that be London or it could be Asia, London or the U.S. You're looking for consistency. So 9:30 to 11:30, of course, right? That's the highest volume. That's when you'd want to see some consistency here. And we've got an half an hour here, half an hour here. Okay, but that might be a place to focus in on that. Um, you still could make some changes here. You might say, okay, that's too much. I want my max stop loss to be 100, be 100 ticks. Right now it comes down a little bit, but drawdown gets better. So this, yeah, I mean, it's rare that I don't want to get the input from the optimizer. But sometimes if you're struggling with something because for whatever reason, you can come back here and be very precise about it, right? And it's just a question of, okay, which result am I more comfortable with? Let's see. Trailing stop loss, that's pretty self-evident. When do you want to trail a stop loss, right? That can be more meaningful if you have multiple contracts. And I should just demonstrate here, if we add another contract here, then we get the same parameters here, and I can add another one, right? So you don't have to, you can trade 3, 4, 5, you can scale in. These are other options here for designing an algo. So we're getting better or worse. Well, we're getting better here, adding 3, but what's happening to my drawdown, right? That's the first, I always look here and then immediately look down here. What's happening to my drawdown? So I might say, okay, no, I don't want to scale in, right? What's happening to my drawdown? Getting better or worse? Is 3 positions too much? Okay, well now I'm looking a little bit better here. That's tolerable, assuming the typical 50K account. Um, I think we're good here. We could also just demonstrate you get real-time results. So if I look at that and go, okay, that's too much. Oh, let's do
Dennis,
five.
Dennis has a question, I see.
Okay. Go,
Sam,
Dennis.
Erwin, can you talk about if you are in a long trade, that the algo does not get you into more long trades until you are flat before re-entering? Yeah, that's true, Dennis. The When you are long and you get out another long signal, it won't open another trade. So it will only open one trade at a time.
That's
You
right.
can in the
Adhere.
ATM enable the option to reverse the trade. So let's say you are in a long trade and an opposing signal comes. So you're in a long trade and a short signal comes, then it can close the long trade and open a short trade for you,
Or close the trade,
or close the
right?
trade, whatever you
Right.
want to do.
And then you get that immediate feedback here. So is it better, worse to be doing that? Looks like it's certainly gotten worse. So we'll go back to do nothing here. And now we're back to at least we're going the right direction here. Now notice, right, it's changing because everything we touch, everything you tweak here changes that result. So I mean, we've got some of these. There's quite a few trades here. So 400 trades. So pretty remarkable. They can do it within a few seconds. You get that updated result. Okay, on the ATM, right? Feel free to adjust the hours. So maybe you want to trade from, you from 2:30, or let London get open for 30 minutes. So maybe you go 2:30 to 11:30, right? And trade so you get the overlap of London and New York, and you close it at London's close when we go into the lunch hour. Yeah, don't feel like, oh, I've just got to stick with this. Do some experimentation, or of course, pick them yourself. But you can do that as well. If you're in a prop account, likely that's something you want to do is close all trades at the end of the session until they make some changes. Look at the difference here, right? I go to $15 from 900, right? Pretty
Okay.
pretty dramatic result, right? That's why prop accounts are a
Shall
part of
we
the process.
shall we move to the optimizer itself?
Yeah, let's move to the optimizer. Okay, so this is the one that I ran. I loaded this into ASP there, so you see it here. But we can come back here and let's just run it again. So let's go through. We're at this place you're going to start. Now this is me just hitting reset. Lots of choices here. Now you might look at this and go, well, I don't want a stop that's that tight. I don't want it to even consider a four tick stop in the MES. Certainly not in the NQ or the MNQ. So don't hesitate to do something like that and say, okay, I don't want to keep minimum stocks can be 20, not four. Same thing here.
This
Do I
is the
want it to be
target.
moved?
Sorry, this was the target.
Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. I'm thinking stop. That's the target. Okay. Well, same thing, right? I may not
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
MES. I may four ticks
yeah.
on my target. Excuse me. May not be what I'm after. That's too tight. So okay, right. So maybe like it's like maybe you change it to 100 ticks. All right. You maybe change this to 300. Say okay. Well, now it's no big deal to run another optimization. See if what my result looks like. If I do that, do I want to tweak with the risk reward? Now maybe 1.5 is too
It's more for scalping, right?
right. More scalpers, right? Do I want to make that right? Okay. Well, test it, right? That's all you're doing here. How about for break even here? Do I want to have anything that moves to break even? Well, again, four ticks might be awfully tight. Now, if you're trading the 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 mid, right? The ES and not the MES, you might say, okay, four ticks is my scalp, and then I'm going to want to run it, let it do a scalp and a runner kind of a scenario. But for an MES, that's probably too tight for your stop. But again, there's no right answer. And you might say, okay, notice we're moving in increments of five. Maybe I want to go 5 to 100 in increments of five. Maybe I want to go 5 to 10, right? So you can do some experimentation there, but it's not a bad idea to just start with the defaults. Just hit reset, right? It's always going to come back. Four, right? So it's just you might see, but if it comes back and you've got a bunch of trades that are four ticks and taking a winner because you've got a very high win rate, you might rethink that and just tweak
Yeah.
it.
What I would suggest is just use the defaults. And if you see a result you don't like, for example, it creates an algo with a four tick target, and you think, oh, okay, well, that's a little bit too less, then start changing
Right.
in settings. But start with the defaults. They are probably okay for 99% of all the algos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only start tweaking them if really needed.
Yeah, based on result. Or if you, for example, if you saw your commission costs were very, very high, like, oh, okay, it's just way too many trades. You know,
Yeah.
we looked at one over here that had 444 trades on 30 days. Well, it is 24/5, and the results aren't bad, but maybe that's one where you want to tighten up the targets.
Mm.
Trailing stops, right? Again, it's kind of self-explanatory. Do I want it to be immediate? Probably not. Maybe, right? But, I'm not saying right, wrong. It's just maybe that's what you don't want to be. It's really more, if you were split between positions, but I typically will uncheck that. When the scalp target is hit, go ahead, Erwin.
No, I just wanted to mention that you can also disable things completely. So, for example, if you go back to the targets and you say, "Well, I don't want my targets to be in ticks. I only want to use with reward." Yeah, you just
Yep.
disable the ticks, and then it will only generate strategies which use a target or for risk to reward. And the same goes for all the options in here. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of flexibility.
Yep. And the other thing is you could do it no target and just have the stop take you out
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
wanted to, right? I mean, it's just another test to run. Well, it's better, worse, better, worse. Like your eye doctor, A, B, which is better. All right. So let's go ahead and leave. Let's leave ticks there, and we'll see what we get here.
Yeah.
Break even. Again, that's a little tight, but we'll leave it. Trailing stop. Okay. Same kind of thing. When scalp is hit, well, we don't have a scalp, right? So there's no purpose for that. Um, when break even, okay, if there's not a scalp, there's no need for that. Trailing stop 4, that would be tight for me. I would probably change that to 20, but again, there's no right answer. Risk reward, same thing. I would take that to 1 on a trailing stop because 2.5, maybe the full size, right? The mini, not the micro, you might keep that a little bit tighter, but 1, it seems like a good starting point. Again, trailing stop, same kind of questions, right? It's just up to you. There's no right answer here as to what you'd prefer. Trading rules. Now, I do this reflexively, and I of course save this. I always change this to 500. So if it reaches minus 500, stop trading. Now, you could look at this a couple of different ways. You could say, okay, consecutive losers. This is the other thing that I will always do, 3 to 5. Okay, well, maybe 3 to 5, if maybe that 2,500 is essentially going to do the same thing. But why take the risk? These are, so if I go to load settings, like this is my default here, and you'll note minus 500, 3 to 5. Up here, I've taken some of these out, right? So just when you get something that you like, see, note mine here, the targets are 1 to 500, just save it. And then so that's what I do. Every time I'm coming over here, I go to optimize here, I go load settings, and I pick my 100 stop. That's the one I'd start with because I know that I don't want a 4 tick target. But again, that's just me, right?
Uh,
There's no
well,
right answer. Go ahead.
sorry, a 100 tick target, it might be a little bit too much for MES, right?
It could be, right? I mean, so
Or
maybe it
not?
makes, yeah,
I just wondering.
yeah, this is what I always start with
Okay.
is this one just to see what I can get with that. And then my stop, right? I'm using ticks and a risk reward. So
Mm.
I'm trying to function there now. Shit, I can't remember. It could be that I was doing that when I had the MNQ up, but 50 ticks, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now you make a big decision over here as to whether or not you want to start optimizing your indicators, right? That's the next big factor. Once you've got this set to what you're comfortable with, and again, when you're just starting out, no reason not to just go with the defaults. But now, if you want to do this, couple of things, right? So now you're asking it to optimize individual indicators as well. So you got to think through that. It's going to take longer that way, right? Because it's going to add complexity to what it's optimizing for. You may or may not want to choose to do that, but think it through, right? So if I've got a 921, you might want to change some of those ranges there a little bit, right? It's up to you. I'm not saying, again, there's no right answer. But for our purposes here, let's go ahead and just leave the 9 and the 21 and the RSI, which I've got. That's just a 14.3. I'm just using the defaults here. Now, down here under signal quality, this is kind of speaking to what one of you guys was asking about before. This is going to penalize it. If it's long, it hasn't reached its target, it's getting a bunch of cell signals. I think the default is light. I changed it to medium here because I was just finding better results, but they're subtle. So we leave that here. Stop loss, right? This is kind of the key piece here. Previous bar high and low. Okay, that seems reasonable to include. Again, ATR, do you want to tweak that? 1 to 10 seems reasonable. 10 may be too high. You might say, I don't want 10 times the ATR. Well, look, the one we've got loaded in there was very high. Maybe that's beyond your risk tolerance. So tweak away. If you get one that you like, save it and then give it a name, something then you can, so you don't have to do this every single time you come in here. That's the whole advantage of it. You get something you like. So I know I'm always going to do this. I know I'm always going to do that. Now, in the default here, those are left blank here. So I'm going to go back. Well, let's reset. Oh no, you changed it. I thought those were blank. Oh, okay.
Dennis has a question about the signal quality.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what the signal quality does is when it is in a trade, it looks about at the number of signals it's getting. So for example, let's say you are in a long trade and it gets three, four, five sell signals. Well, that's no good. You don't want that. You don't want any sell signals while you're in a long trade, right? So it's penalizing strategies which are doing that. You only want to see confirmation. So if you're in a long trade, you might want to see some long signals, but not sell signals. And over here you can say how much it's penalizing this strategy. So the higher the number, the more it's going to be penalized.
So your results will produce fewer algos that would have that
Meaning
scenario.
that algos with a lot of conflicting signals will be ranked lower.
Ranked lower, right, right,
Yeah.
right. That's probably a better way to say it. I again just doing a little testing of myself. I landed on medium. Seem reasonable place. So this is in my defaults. Um, oh, for the targets here, let's go back to 50. Again, I'm going to leave these unchecked, but that's a decision fork you got to make as to whether or not you want to start optimizing for those. I'm not saying don't do it. By no means am I saying that. Just for our purposes here, we're going to go ahead and leave those blank and just focus on the ATM. So this looks all, oh, again, just by habit, I do this
Yeah, and
100.
about optimizing indicators settings, the less you optimize, the better.
Yeah,
It will be faster, but it will also prevent any curve fitting. So the less you optimize, the better.
that's right. Now, as I recall, in the last version I was looking at, these two were blank in the default, but now those are back to being filled in. Bar
They
since last trade and max bars in trade.
they look blank.
Let me so I just hit reset, right? This
Oh,
goes back
okay.
to
Yeah, could
light.
be. Yeah, well, you can always blank them out if you want.
I remember you suggesting I uncheck those, which is why I unchecked them
Yeah,
in my settings. But let's go ahead and run it, right? So the idea here is it's going to prevent something where perhaps you've seen in some of the early testing where you'd be in something here and it would get out at the end of the day way up here, and there would have been five different, no way you would have
yeah.
wanted to sit through all of that. So that's the idea there. Um,
Okay.
that we're trying to prevent that. So you're not in a trade for 500 bars.
It's just giving limits, right? What's
Right.
allowed and what's not allowed.
Right. So you don't get a
Boundaries.
runaway that's totally unrealistic. Okay, so I
Yeah.
think we've got something here that we can start with here. Now, always good to come over here and check because the default here is always going to include optimized trading hours. So if you were focused on RTH, right, sometimes that can be frustrating here. Just double check, right? But it's always good before you run it. Just double check. Okay, do I have everything I want here? Okay, that's good. One position. The defaults here probably fine. Now, if you want it's only going to alert you if it's not hitting a target. It's not going to restrict it. So if I say max loss, I don't want anything more than 750. Okay, well, max daily drawdown. Well, I already told it I don't want anything more than 500. Max drawdown at any one trade. Maybe I do something like that. So that would be a pretty
Yeah.
typical starting point here. Of course, we
And
want
this
to.
is because we also get
Pardon me.
some questions about this. This is not going to produce strategies which are always having these numbers. Because if you think of it, I could say I want a min profit factor of 10 and a win ratio of 100%. I can put some values in here which are just are crazy, right? No algo is
Mhm.
ever going to be able to reach that. So it's using this as a guide. So for example, now the max drawdown is set to 350, any algo which has a max drawdown higher than 350 will also get penalized. So it will be on the leaderboard, but it will be lower on the leaderboard.
Right.
And any algo which is as less than 350 will be higher on the leaderboard. So it's all about ranking. Yeah, so but don't be surprised if you see strategies appearing on the leaderboard with numbers different than what you put in here.
And it will also alert you over here if it doesn't meet that
Yeah.
criteria. It'll just in case. I mean, you're gonna, you didn't look like, oh, I forgot to check max drawdown. Um, so well here I think we can probably just run this here. Again, I'm going 24/5, so it's going to be slower. Now, again, there's no reason not to start with optimize here, but I mean, just to re-emphasize, lots of choices here, including making your own. So we'll just
Yeah.
go with the default here and let's run it and see what we get here. So now that we've done all that tweaking, and
Yeah,
hopefully we'll.
and while it's running, note that it's not only optimizing now, it's also of course testing your back testing your strategy, both in and out sample with the, as you can see by the green and purple colors, and with an incubation
Hmm.
period, which you can see in yellow, and with a Monte Carlo analysis, which you can see if you click on the Monte Carlo tab.
Hmm.
And it also has lots of extra checks to prevent any curve-fitted algo to appear on top in the leaderboard.
Yeah, this is a lot of processing that's going on right now. So you'll note over here, just to review a couple of things. So these are in green because they're within the conditions that I gave it,
Yeah.
right? So right, thus, right, they highlight here because they're staying within that condition. I always find it interesting when it starts with something very negative and then it starts to
Yeah,
flip to
that makes
positive, right?
sense. That makes
Yeah,
that makes sense because
you,
think of it as a small child which is learning how to draw. I mean, in the beginning, it can hardly hold its pen and it's
mhm,
moving all over the paper, right? But slowly, when it gets older and older, it starts to be able to draw stick figures. It starts to be
mhm.
able to fill in the within the lines. So it gets better and better, and that's what you see over here. We start out with something which doesn't really look good, but in the end, it's profitable and it's improving and improving every time it runs. So it needs those bad results in the beginning to improve every time the next time. That's how genetic algorithms work.
Right. Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is pretty good number of trades here.
So
Oh, we'll let this run for another minute or two
yeah,
here.
there is
One thing.
there's one more question about the incubation period, how it differs from out of sample. And how it differs is that we use in sample, so the green period, we use for optimizing. So the entire ATM and things like that are optimized based on the green periods. And then we back test it or forward test it, I should say, on the purple periods. But these are in the past, of course, as you can see. We look at them and we take them into account with the rating. Um, but the final piece, the yellow part with the incubation period, we only run a back test against that, and it's not used anywhere, not in the ranking, not in the optimizing. So it's really showing you how the algo would have traded, would it be live at that moment.
Yeah, very powerful recent addition. This is also something new. It's P&L per trade or just over time. So if you wanted to say, okay, well, I had a problem here, maybe I want to review this. That might be a clue in terms of trying to improve your algo. Just something that I just noticed here in this latest version. It's kind of cool to see. No, we'll give it another. It's only done 11 revs or
Yeah,
generations, I should say. But let's see if we can go over here and check the Monte Carlo. It's okay. We're decent here. It's still this it's got a ways to go. This is why, I say this often in videos. It's not something to do while the market's open while you're trying to trade, right? You don't want to you want to do this after market, pre-market, weekends. That's when you want to do your back testing. it does pull resources from your machine towards this. So not something you want to do when the market's open. Um, just a word to the wise. I've tried it. You don't want to do that. Here, okay, that's good. Here, we'll see if we get anything. We'll go 20 generations, then I'll stop it.
Yeah,
What
it
do I
will
got?
gradually improve. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right? But we don't want these guys
And
sitting through the full
and
thing.
sometimes it happens that it doesn't find anything profitable. I mean, we cannot do magic, of course. We can only look
Yeah.
at all the possible combinations and see if anything is really good. But if it's not there, it's not there. So yeah, then you have to
Right, but that
go back.
doesn't mean give up. That
No, of
means
course not. No.
so if that were me and I'd be like, oh, this is a week. I'm not happy with this result. It's not worth the risk reward. Then you might say, okay, well, I'm going to go back into the optimizer and I'm going to see just to test it. Let's see, maybe the 9 is not the one I want, or maybe oh, I guess I can't do that while it's running. Maybe the 21 is too tight, so I'm going to go to a 2055 here, or ask it to optimize the RSI. You don't necessarily give up on it. Just okay, it needs work. So now, okay, this is starting to look better, even though we're kind of flat when we're going. That's it's learning, right? You can see it learning, right? And then the real time test is actually looking pretty good. So we
Yeah.
say, okay, it's choppy here. It's still learning.
So
Oh, I think
Zachary
I may have
is
stopped.
asking, do you find the ratio numbers to be useful, Sharp, K ratio, etc.? Yeah, they are useful. They are indeed, you can see now on the leaderboard that some of them are zero. But it's still learning. I mean, we didn't find anything yet which we would really like, right? You would have to wait maybe 10, 15 minutes until it's done. And then the top results will all have positive numbers, of course, for the ratios. Yeah.
Yeah, I should note we're running on 30 days of data here, but again, running 24/5. Now look down over here, max drawdown is now red at 661 because I told it max drawdown to be
Yeah.
350 and daily drawdown at 500. So it's alerting us here that, okay, it's not within the parameters. So just heads up. It's getting better as it goes, right? It's learning. We're not 24 in. What do you think? Should I stop it there, everyone?
No, you can
They
leave it
get
running for now. I mean,
there we go.
it's
Okay, right. It's
uh,
getting smarter, just like a kid. Like, oh yeah, that is a stick figure. Pretty soon you'll have it the Mona Lisa.
yeah. What we are also looking for with the optimization is not that one or two periods are profitable. Ideally, we like to see that the majority of all the in sample and out of sample and the incubation period is showing profitable sessions. And that's what you see here. There are a couple, of course, here which with a little bit of drawdown between trade 40 and like 70. But the majority is producing either a profit or is break even. And that's also something the optimizer is looking at.
Yeah, and it's a common thing for people that are new to this. You might be okay, starting to trade this, whether sim, prop, or cash. It's oh God, I got a bad right. So this one's no good. I can't trade this, and then you're going to miss all of this. Right. That's why you have to evaluate them over time. Now we do suggest you run it for a week. We've talked about this with 60 days of data to be ensure that you have 100 trades. Define the times you want it running. Maybe you don't want it running 24/5. I'm just doing that for demonstration purposes, so we see how many that we get enough trades.
Can
Um,
we go to the Monte Carlo of this one?
yeah.
This would be
It seems to be improving. Right now we've gotten to excellent here. I always do this so I can see them.
So the Monte Carlo is looking at various things. Of course, it's running like 500 permutations, basically shuffling all your trades around and then looking at the max drawdown. And for those who didn't look at Monte Carlo before, um, you can imagine that the order in which your trades occur define your max drawdown. For example, let's take a example where you have 50 winners and 50 losers. Now let's say that all those losers are distributed among those 100 trades. That will give you a different drawdown than when those 50 losers were occurring after each other. If you have loser after loser after loser after loser after loser, your drawdown would be much higher. And that's basically what this Monte Carlo is testing on the left. You can see all those different curves, equity curves. They all went at the same point, but it's just the order in which they were taken, those trades, those 150 or 180 trades, they determine what your max drawdown was. And ideally, you want to see as less curves below the white line, which is the
The
standard.
actual, yeah.
Yeah, and as much above it. But yeah, overall, this looks okay. And then it's also going to look at other things which you can see on the right. Like, for example, what happens if we double the slippage? Will it survive? What happens if we remove the top winners or the biggest losers? What's going to happen then? So it's testing all these things, and then it's giving you a rating overall to see how good it is, and how good it performs, and even with all those changes made to your yeah, to those trades. Um,
Yeah, and this is now you can see it's starting to look better. And the other thing is,
yeah.
you're seeing it live here, but you can also look at it more detailed here. Once you get one that you want to load into ASP, then you can go here and you'll get risk of ruin. You'll see all the trades. You'll see it, some additional information. So you've got multiple ways because Monte Carlo is so important to evaluating any sort of automation or any sort of algo.
Yeah, it's one of
Back to start.
the best ways to determine if an algo is robust or not. And probably in one of the next versions, we will also get the 25% parameter test in here,
Hmm.
which is now already included in the strategy builder.
Yeah.
And what will that will do is it will actually change settings within 25% to see how it affects your strategy. For example, if you have, like Sam now has, he has an EMA versus EM 9 versus 21 crossover, and that's now giving you good results. What happens if we make it an EMA 10 versus an EMA 20? If that total equity curve drops and becomes negative, then you know it's heavily curve fitted. So that's something
Yeah.
we will add in the next version as well.
Yeah, look forward to that, man. I always laugh at how many versions. I get two or three versions a week. Look at how much better the Monte Carlo is looking. Look at all the structure up here above, right? So we're reducing. It's learning essentially, right? You can see this little child learning, right? It's getting better and better and better.
Mm.
So the drawdown that was here in this section here, it's learned its way through that. So we're getting a much more stable. The incubation period here, very solid. Monte Carlo. At the top here, we only have good here. So, you my first question would be, oh, I wonder why. So those are things to start to dig on here, but you can literally see it learning as it goes here. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, what else do we have, Erwin? Should I
Well, one
look?
more question from Dennis about these green and red vertical lines on the chart. Those are basically the buy and sell signals
Here? He's
your
back on the chart.
strategy, yeah, your strategy is creating. But as we said before, not every buy and sell signal results in a trade being opened. Um, and you can see that, for example, here at around 3 o'clock in the morning, it opens a short trade. And during the short trade, we see multiple sell signals and multiple buy signals. And it's just ignoring those because you're already in a trade. So that's um, what you see here. The
Yeah, that's a good
buy and
example of
sell
it.
signals. And yeah, like I said, it's not that just because there's a buy or sell signal, a trade will be opened. It could be that it's not during trading hours. It could be that your daily loss or daily profit limit has already been reached. There could be many reasons why a trade is not opened there.
Or as we saw in the ATM, right, where it could be that the low was above the high, so you couldn't take the trade.
Yeah, for example, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, looking good here. So from where we started, pretty nice improvement. Okay, so well, let's go ahead. I guess I'll stop that. And let's give it, let's see, 58. Net profit. What's my drawdown? My max drawdown here. Remember, my max drawdown here I said was 350. I'm at 399, still acceptable, but it's just alerting me that okay, it wasn't able to meet that 350 target that I gave it. I wouldn't shy away from trading this, but just so you note that max loss 149, but max drawdown 400. See, this is just getting better and better as we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Now, once I've got it stopped here, I do like to do a little review and see, okay, how we looking here, right? So total trades. So we got plenty of trades here. Max drawdown, right? Of course, for anyone trading prop accounts, that's the number you're focused on here. So we're probably pretty good here. So the next question is loaded into ASP. So now here I am in ASP. I've just sent it over where I can do. There's more that I can do with it here than in ASB. So the first thing, again, just this reflexive habit for me. The first thing I always do is go over to reports. Now remember, we're running 24/5, so there's the potential for this to be spread out, right? Which is okay, a little sparse, right? What we hope to see is more density, right? So we'd start from here to here, right? This big gap in the middle, this is probably an algo that needs some refinement.
Yeah, yeah, you could like the leaderboard is full of them, so you could try another,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
It's a little bit of a treasure hunt, of course, to see what.
Let's see. Well, so we could do it this way. So I will do two things, but I'm always curious. Okay, highest profit, but what is my drawdown? What does that look like? Total drawdown. It's not terrible, but if you're starting out here and you get this far into it, let's go to that's date. If you got that far into it, you might say, okay, I need to refine this, and then just as you refined it, right, it starts to take off. The other thing that's worthwhile, again, knowing so many are trading prop accounts, is if I go to my minimum drawdown. Okay, what am I getting over here? Well, this one is kind of interesting. Minimum drawdown is 23, a little flat in the incubation, but pretty steady equity curve. So it might be that you want to load that one, which, again, it loads immediately. So we get that. Then I want to look at this. Okay, pretty good. Drawdown's very, very tight. And then I want again same process. I'm going to come over to reports and look at this one in the reports. Are they more bunched together? No, really not. Right? So this is the trade-off when you're doing a 24/5, right? So is this going to be an algo I'd run? I wouldn't run it myself, right? Because I want to see them bunched up more together. So I might start tweaking here. Again, maybe I change it from 230 to 1130. This is kind of a momentum. This is a momentum-based algo, right? We got two moving averages and RSI. So I may want to focus on where I know there's going to be heavier volume. I also may want to add a volume indicator into this, just so I'm positioned to be in the market when the volume's the highest, right? Something to consider. Not that we have a bad result here, but it's a starting point. I would suggest. Would you agree with that, Erwin? That likely a place to get just okay. I need to keep working on it.
Yeah, and of course the question then becomes how do you work on it? And one of the things is already what you mentioned. You want clusters of hours
Right.
together. So maybe, for example, by choosing the 9:30 to I don't know 10:30 block, how does it perform then? Is it acceptable? Is it still producing a nice equity curve, but maybe less profit? Things like that. Um, and
Yeah, that's where you start working on it. Now this is where I have a little bug in my machine here, where it's creating a problem when I go to the RTH hours. So that's why I was on all. But I can see here. Okay, well again, right. I don't
But if
particularly
you
like
now
that
go
result.
if you now go to the reports, for example,
Yeah. Right. So
okay, so but now we can see, for example, 12:30 to the close is a block of four is a block we could trade, right?
130. Right. So I'd come back here.
So basically the afternoon, right? That's
Yeah. Right. So we can do this and say,
12
okay.
o'clock should 12 o'clock should be on.
Say again. Oh, 12. Excuse me.
Yes,
Do we have?
12 and 12:30 should be on.
Oh, I thought we were going just the afternoon. Okay, let's look at that. Again, there's a little bug in my machine on the ATM hours here, so
Okay. Well, could be
it,
that,
it, it's
that's
it's
it. But
it's
that's
something in
basically
this.
how you.
I've got a
basically how
beta
you.
version. I've got a beta. That's why I've got a beta, not a, this is not a version you guys will have yet. And there's a little bug here in the ATM. So if I go to all, we should be okay to get that back here, but I got to undo that.
Okay, Dennis has another question. Can you go to the Logic Designer tab for a moment?
Sure.
Okay, you see those green and blue circles in front of the conditions. And that's basically meaning that, well, first of all, you can select any bar on the chart. So if you just go to the chart and you click basically on any bar, you will see those yellow markers right there. If you really look carefully where
Here.
Sam clicked, you can see those markers right. That's the current selected bar.
Yeah.
And now if you go back to the logic
I
designer,
I know. I got to get it. All right.
yeah,
So if so it tells
it's
me, right?
yeah, it's
What's
showing you the condition of that bar. So we can see on the bar which Sam selected, the first condition produces a red circle, which is basically a short signal. So the first condition is producing a short, and the second and the third one are producing a long signal. So this is conflicting. So in the end, nothing will be probably shown there. But that's why how you can easily debug and see what's going on. And
or yeah, if you have a section that you like, whoa, I really went crazy here, so you can go back and see what
yeah,
the issue is there.
and the blue means that basically there is no long or short. So we can see that inside this end we have one short and two longs, and that means that the end is not producing anything because it either needs to be all shorts or all longs in this case. And we also have orange, and orange means that there is both a short and a long signal. So it's very convenient for debugging purposes. So here
So
you can see they're all green.
all green, right? So you can see that trade would have right, would have been taken. That's at 22:30, so that's probably why we don't have it there.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I think we got that. ATM.
Yeah, I
Feel
think,
free to work here, right? So you can, if you have certain parameters here, you can work right here. You don't have to go to the optimizer. It's just another choice for you. And then all of this stuff down here, for those of you working with prop accounts, these are preset to their drawdown limits, the daily drawdown levels. That's just a convenience for you if you're a top step trader or Apex or whatever the circumstance is. Definitely do some testing when you do that here because that's going to affect your results. But that's kind of a nice convenience that Irwin designed into it. All right. Well, there's an hour. We got any more questions? Now would be the time to ask them. And then if not, I guess we're doing a raffle.
yeah. The one more question, can we add Lucid? I guess Lucid is another prop
Yeah.
firm.
Yeah. You know why people like Lucid? Because it's end of day, not trailing
Oh,
drawdown.
okay. Yeah, we can add it. I can look up their conditions and their
Yeah, they're
rules
good.
and
They're,
add it in there. Yeah.
yeah, just for that fact that they're not trailing, it's end of day. That's why
Okay.
they've
Yeah.
become so popular. Um,
Yeah, we can add it in there.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll leave that off. The other one here that we didn't really talk about, maybe we'll get into Kelly on a more advanced one because we're starting to make some changes. They're pretty dramatic. Um, let's see what I get to if I result here. Should we save that for another one since we're at 12:30?
Yeah, I think
Probably. Yeah.
let's save that
Yeah.
for another one. I
Yeah.
think
And
we
I'll get the
covered a
bugs
lot
sorted out.
today. I think
Yeah,
we
we
covered a
did.
lot with the ATM and the optimizer. I hope everybody has a better understanding now how it works and what you can do with it. If you have any questions, you can of course always ask them in the Discord. And please note we have a 7-day free trial for those of you who didn't try it out yet. And free is free. We don't need your payment details or whatever. So make sure to make
Yeah.
use of it. And if you want to test it longer or actually buy it, we of course you can buy the lifetime license version or subscribe to it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, that's a good way to get you really dig into it if you don't want to make that big commitment up front. But 7 days is not enough. You get started. I like where this is going. I need a little more time. Then the lease is, that's one of the reasons we offered that. Okay, we need to do a random raffle.
Yeah.
You did that last time. How did you do that? I think you,
I can share my
I think I
screen
have to share
and
you. I have to. You have to share yours.
yeah, I can share my screen. No worries.
Yeah, yeah.
Because let's see.
We want them to know it's random.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So share my screen, and that's screens. It should be this one.
You
Okay.
got, you got your screen. Mine has to be off, right?
Yeah,
I need stop share, right? Do they have yours or mine? I think I have to hit stop share.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now it's yours. Okay, there we go. That's your. That's yours. Now
Oh,
I got Claude saying evening, Erwin.
exactly. So I'm going to make a screenshot of the participant. We have 17 members in here, and of course, I'm going to exclude myself. And just like everybody these days, we are going to use some AI.
Yes, we love AI.
So let's see. From Dennis to Yolanda, and I think Bobber is also in here. Yeah, so if Bobber wins, we do it again because he's a staff member. So I'm going to paste this in here, and I'm going to say pick a random person, but not Bobber. Sorry, Bobber.
Or Bobber.
And the winner is Roy
Roy
Fisher.
Fisher, and who was here
So please,
early. Good for
please
you.
contact us via Discord, and we will set you up with a 1 month subscription for free.
Fantastic. All
Okay.
right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you got a few little tips and tricks or some ideas about how to get started. It's really it's a lot of you got to work with it. It's test, right? You can't break it, right? And you get immediate feedback, right? That's one of the immensely powerful things about it is that immediate feedback. Am I going the right direction? Am I going the wrong direction? Right. And so, okay, right. That'll do it. We will be back next Wednesday. We're going to keep these going indefinitely here. So every week we'll have something on a Wednesday that we'll dig in a little bit deeper. This is still very rudimentary here in the beginner process here. So these will get more and more sophisticated as we go. Okay, for that, we'll sign off here. And thanks you to all of you for joining us. Catch you next week.
Yeah. Bye bye.